What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. We've got a 24 KTM 350 E-XCF that's just finished up in the build program. So a little bit unusual to have a 350. Typically, we've been turning out larger bore bikes, the 500 and 501. There is absolutely no reason to not choose a 350. In fact, the 350 makes a fabulous bike, and in many ways, it's it might be considered a better bike than the 500. For example, the 350 has a double overhead cam engine and is very, very lively up top. It makes really good power on the top end. It makes about 46 wide open, so 46 horsepower at peak RPM. I think redline on this bike is 10.5, and so when it's spooled up and in that higher rev range in the power band, really lively, very exciting, terrific bike for single track and close tight riding. Arguably a little better than the 500 501 big bore. There's less internal reciprocating mass in the engine, and so it leans in better. It has a sharper, quicker turn-in feel, and the 350 makes typically, like I said, by many it's considered to be a better all-arounder. The power is a little more forgiving. It has less bottom end. It's less punchy and hard hitting on the bottom end. So if you're a newer rider, or maybe a little more timid, or you just want something that's not going to work you quite so hard, the 350 is very forgiving in that way. You can ride a 350 typically longer. And what I mean by that is if you've got a long days, so long days with technical riding, the 350 will generally conserve a rider's energy and do a better job of it than the bigger bore bike, especially a 450. So boy, that's a video that needs to be made, isn't it? The differences and the breakdown between a 350, 450, and 500, those are very distinct engine classes and have very, very unique and distinct feels. That's why KTM bothers to make those different class engines. I mean, it's a lot for a manufacturer to make 3 different engine platforms where, they could easily get away with maybe just a 450 and call it a day. There are other manufacturers that do that, but KTM takes the time, effort to break those classes down, and for good reason, because they're so distinct and unique in their power output and profiles. So there's no one best bike. I would argue, though, that the 350 makes maybe a more complete all-arounder. If you had to pick one bike, and I bounce back and forth between the 500 and the 350, but I think the 350 edges out the 500 in terms of the single best all-around bike probably is the 350. I'm just going to say it. There it is. The 350 EXC, or on the Husqvarna side, it'd be the FE side. And you can get this in 2 different versions. This happens to be the 50 state legal plated bike. So this would be the E-XCF. On the Husky side, that would be the FES. Those 2 are the plated, and then the non-plated green sticker trail bike version on the KTM side would be it's a new alphabet soup designation. It used to be the XCF-W, and for 24 they changed it to the XCF-W. I'll correct it in the notes. I think it's the XWF. And then on the Husky side, it's the FE. And so that's 4 bikes. There's 4 different models there that I just described, and I'll break all that down. So there it is. I'm on record. The 350 plated bike really, I think, is the single best all-around single-cylinder bike to choose. But there's plenty of reasons to skip it and to go to a 450 or to go to a 500. This bike is going to be used up in Northern California, and so there's some single track riding. This rider may get over to Lake Tahoe area and do some of that trail riding over there. So why pick a 350 over one of those other bikes? Lower cost, a little bit lower cost, a little bit lower weight. Now don't go off and get this because it's a little bit lower than the bigger bore bikes. It's only like 2 or 3 pounds, and I can list some of those specs. It's got a mellower bottom end. I think we covered all that, so maybe we'll move on. The thing about this bike is I've enjoyed riding this. I've enjoyed working on it and looking at it. It's got a really exciting graphics package that we put together for this rider, and it's got that iridescent, I don't know if it's coming across, but in the light, You can see how it changes, kind of translucent. So super sexy. That's been very cool. It's going to be a very comfortable bike. He's got a cush drive. So let's talk about some of the ways that this will be a very forgiving and very comfortable bike to ride. It's got a cush drive. This is a Warp 9. This is the Elite Series wheels. And that cush drive will absorb driveline shock. Because this bike doesn't quite have that torquey, punchy output of, say, the 500. Do you need a cush drive on a 350? I think so. I think it is a nice thing to add to any bike. Probably more so on the larger bore bikes, but a 350 will benefit absolutely, no doubt, especially if this rider is going to be doing some on-road commuting. And really good tire, this Motoz Tractionator. This is the IT version, and that tire's got fabulous hookup, tremendous off-road capability and terrain grabbing performance. It's a real top pick of ours. And then inside of there are moose balls. And so that wheel set, this whole entire wheel set is really like an A+ choice for this rider, for any bike, really. And then he's got a Dirt Tricks Ironman sprocket on the back there with that chrome iridescent. The looks on this bike are just off the charts. It absolutely is stunning. More so in person, obviously, than what you might see on this video, but tremendous. And then Warp 9, these are titanium with like a little iridescent kind of oil slick finish too. And so that whole entire wheel set is just absolutely gorgeous. Some of the things on this bike that are gonna contribute to that comfort that I was talking about is he's got the XL wide seat. So that's the seat concepts. And you can see how generous that is there in the back. It's wider than the standard comfort. And so if you're doing some commuting, if you're going to be sitting, that's absolutely a nice upgrade to have. He's got so again, just kind of thinking in terms of like how this bike is just really going to work for the rider. He's got a Mako 360, and he has my favorite setup. So the green ones are the second from softest, and then the Shark Bite, which is this little center mount here that keeps the bars from rocking fore and aft. He's using the second from firmest. So second from softest here, second from firmest here. That's my personal preference on the setup. And that is really a killer setup, a killer way to go. So that's gonna knock down and dampen out engine vibrations and high frequency vibrations. Very, very, like I said, comfort inducing. So far this is just a really good, this could be a commuter bike, trail bike, just very cross adaptable. And then the OD Rogue grips, which are nice and squishy, and then they grab your gloves when they're wet really well. That's a big feature and benefit of these. And then with these little cuts in here, when your hands are wet and your gloves are wet, you'll get good airflow through there to dry them out. So that's pretty cool. Maybe take a look at this. This is a USB charger, and this tucks in and hides away down here underneath the bars, and we've got our own little mount that we put that on. You end up often, if you've ever had a bar situation like this where you have different things. So let's do a quick run through of all his switches. So this is the Taco Moto Slim headlight switch, and we configure this on the 24 bikes to give you an off, and that's super important. It's very difficult to get the off function to work on the new electronics, and we have a whole entire front end lighting kit that gives you the new switch with the functionality to turn the headlight off. Also, we have the capability of removing the high beam light. Now, if you've ever added an aftermarket LED light to your KTM bike, you know that it's a little bit frustrating that you get the high beam. As soon as the light is on at all, low or high, your high beam light locks on and stays on. And so our kit allows headlight off, high beam light only when you're on true high beam. And then the turn signals, we give you these, well, it's an optional, you can include. These are the super flex signals, and they cascade out when they blink, and then they have a very bright light, white run light feature. And all of that is integrated into the kit. And then we happen to have a Ruby R5 on here. We like an R7 typically. An R5 consumes less power. That's not really needed. This is a 196 watt stator on this bike, so conserving power wasn't a consideration. Just a little bit of budget issue, and so that just is a little less costly, and so probably the driver behind that decision. So all of that takes up some bar space, as you can see, but this, because it's thinner than stock, it also means that the back of the lever, if you've ever had your stock lever contact the back of your stock switch, you know that can be a little bit of frustration. And so this removes that. Now we've got the bulletproof levers on here, and these are nice because you can articulate the amount of attack that you want here. You could dial this in or out. There's a lock nut in here, and you can dial that so that that lever will be very close or very far out. That's a nice setup. P3 on these. Reservoir caps, super sexy. Carbon fiber anywhere you can. Let's see. So we've got a Scott stabilizer here on this. Great for our western open deserts, rocky areas, Baja, roots, rocks. This really is another rider's aid in terms of removing fatigue to the rider. And then STR bleeders here. So these are super slick because you can air bleed out your front forks at any time, super easy. So the setup of all this really contributes again to rider energy management. And then over here we have a Taco Moto start stop kill switch, and that replaces the stock one, which is super finicky, hard to press the buttons, and has been a failure point. The bar guard system, highway dirt bikes, big bolt tapped in, and then super strong guards with the integrated mirrors. And then he has, this is his Voyager Pro, which he sent to us, and we mounted it up on a stout mount, motor-mounted stout mount. And then this is a Taco Moto bracket here that mounts on top of the Mako 360 to give you an amps hole pattern situation there to mount all of that up. So that's gonna be great. He could be on the road. He can see his over-the-road speed, engine RPM, coolant temp, air temp. He can manage his phone. He can sync his phone to it, and so if he's playing music through wireless earbuds, he can control all that. Even take calls while you're cruising down the road. So really cool device for all of that. This is the I always forget these numbers. This is the Acerbis tank. It's not the biggest one. It's 3.9, I think, is the size there. Fuel system, Golan inline fuel filter, Dirt Tricks dome washer, Taco Moto oil filter, molecule skid plate. This has our accessory wiring harness. We talk about this quite often. And in here, you'll see that that's this power management device here, double fused. And then we have the PC Racing filter skin and then a PC Racing base gasket. There's a starting capacitor living on a little bracket way over there. And then engine ground, and then a SAE here for charging. Pretty cool stuff up front. You know, we use these because they just look great, and they're low cost, and they really dress up a bike. These are the fork shrinks. Another Warp 9 Elite Series front wheel with the really cool orange anodized hub, STR carbon fiber front rotor guard, the lightest and best protection you're gonna get, and then TM Design Works, super light, super functional, very robust on these lower fork savers. We do this on our builds. You'll notice that this brake hose has been routed underneath everything, and then the flex point comes down here, kind of Yamaha style, and that takes it away from hitting and interfering with all this bar control stuff that you have up there. That's a really trick move to do. And then we accomplish that with our in-house design and made cable and hose brackets. This is something that maybe I don't mention all the time, but an absolute must do. These are the Canyon Dancer tie down straps. And so if you have a bar system, a damping system like this, you do not want to put any strain or stress tying down this bike in the back of your truck. So doing it down here removes that. You do your toe straps right here. Also on the KTMs and Huskies, something to point out, that little hole right there, you could put your toe strap through this hole. The problem though is on the new 24 bikes with this little winglet here on the front mask, that is so buried, you're never gonna get your hook up in there. So just point of fact, you have the ability to use a tie down strap there, but you just can't get to it. I think on the Husky, it may give you the ability, because the wings are a little bit different, to do that. That's probably it up top. I don't know that I see anything else. You know, just to mention again, this So this is a double articulated brake lever, and let me show you why this is an advantage over a single articulated. Inside of here, let me see if I can get this over just a little bit. Do you see this little blue switch right there, this little button? That's the brake switch, that's the rear brake switch. And so when you have a double articulated brakes lever like this, the first section, this raw aluminum section, it's spring loaded and it goes in and it presses the detent. And that stays in place and the detent is in, so your brake light isn't on all the time. And then because this is double articulated here, now you can move the lever in and out, and it doesn't affect that brake switch. Clever design. If you have a plated bike that you need to keep that brake switch closed, and you want to change position of the brake lever, you really need to look at a double articulated lever, and that's the reason why. And that Bulletproof Designs does a great job of that. We like it. Let's see, down here we're looking at Samco hoses, nice upgrade, and then we put on a heat shield here over the top of the exhaust manifold, and the thermostat is in this bike. We leave thermostats in bikes. Our Taco Moto oil filler cap, and that's super slim, knurled on the sides. No tools are needed, and because it's so slim, you can get, sometimes you'll put an exhaust guard. We love the P3s. You put those on, and then you can't get your oil cap off. Plus, the stock ones are plastic, and this is obviously an upgrade. And so you can clear that now. Bulletproof Designs on the brake lever. We also have it over on the shift lever. Super beefy and robust billet trick upgrade. Here you see this all the time on our builds. We have some heat shielding to keep all that exhaust heat out of the shock oil, and then Promoto billet on the end cap with an ultra silent insert. Tidy tail back here, enduro plate, love those. That's STR. That's a very low unsprung weight, strong, robust, and extremely minimal low unsprung weight. Absolutely key on a bike, keeping your unsprung weight down. Warp 9 rim lock, and then balanced on the wheels. Underneath the seat, we have a Get ECU system, and then this is using the new SX1 traction control. Well, so the switch allows for traction control management here. So new for 24 is that switch option. Here's just like a little overview of the switch options that Taco Moto gives you. On the left here, on the far left, we have our own black. So these first three are really just about color choice. So you can get it in black, gray, and then this orange one. Now the orange one is being discontinued, and that's a little bit hard to get. There are some riders who very specifically like that one and have asked for that one, and that is being sunsetted out, and so supplies are limited on that. They're being phased out for the gray one here, and then we offer this black one from us. And then you saw here the LED one. That's the new version of the upgraded switch. Map 1, Map 2, and then quick shift, and then GPA, that's traction control. So you can manage all of those from that switch, and you have your option. You have the ability to pick any one of those switches, and these are something that we offer for the new SX1. And so there's been some question about SX1 ECUs, and you can get them in our version, which is also being phased out to the gray, but that is, see that part number SX1? You want to look on the back of your unit, and if it says SX1, that's what you have over here, SX1. And so again, you can get it in a gray version or a green version, and we've been phasing out the greens. Soon they'll be replaced over to gray. Get has just decided to make a case color change, not a big deal. But what's really key is that it has a Taco Moto sticker on it. When you have an ECU, a Get ECU, and it has a Taco Moto sticker on the back, you are guaranteed map support for life, virtually 24/7 tech support, and maps that we have created in-house with firmware that we've created in-house. Athena has been to our shop twice. We've been to Italy to see them, and an Athena rep is even coming to Las Vegas to see us a little bit later this month. So we have a very deep and abiding relationship with Athena, and it's been a very fruitful relationship for both of us. And also one thing to point out is you can get these from us, and we have these all the way date back to 2019, where you can get this map switch. So we have the ability to offer the new updated LED map switch from bikes from years 17 all the way up to 25. And then you can opt for those same years to go with the toggle switch. So we give you the choice of going either with this kind of fancy new upgraded LED switch, which adds lots of features and bells and whistles, or you can skip that and just go with the toggle switch. We give you huge amounts of flexibility and huge range of year availability for your unit. So that's probably it on this bike. And maybe the last thing I'll say is this bike was dyno tested and broke in on the dyno, and we do that on all of our builds. So the build program is easy to find. You can just shoot us an email. We also have the ability for you to get a hold of RTW Paul, who handles all of that, and you can schedule a consultation with him and talk about the details of it. We'll put links below. If you have any questions about this bike or anything else or anything we do, please hit us up as always. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, go out, get some adventure.